15 great teachings of Jesus Christ that will completely change the rest of your life for good. What if everything you've been chasing is keeping you from what you actually need? Right now, in this very moment, your soul is searching for something the world cannot give you. Peace that doesn't crumble when chaos comes. Purpose that doesn't fade when the applause stops. Love that doesn't quit when people disappoint you. 2,000 years ago, a man walked the earth and spoke words that still shake the foundation of how we live, love, and see ourselves. His name was Jesus. And today, you about to discover 15 of his most powerful teachings that will completely transform the way you experience life. There's a longing inside you that nothing can satisfy. Not success, not money, not even the people you love most. It's a hunger for something eternal, something real. And that hunger? It's exactly what Jesus spoke to. His words weren't religious jargon meant to confuse you. They were truth bombs designed to wake you up, to free you, to show you a way of living that turns weakness into strength, sorrow into joy, and chaos into divine order. Jesus didn't promise an easy road, but he promised you'd never walk it alone. And that changes everything. These 15 lessons aren't just ancient wisdom. They're active invitations to step into the life you were created for. So open your heart. Let these truths reshape how you think, how you love, and how you live. Because when you start walking in his teachings, you don't just survive, you thrive. Jesus didn't love people because they earned it. He loved them because that's who he was. When he sat with the rejected, touched the untouchable, and spoke to those society ignored, he was showing us something radical. Love has no boundaries. His love didn't ask for credentials. It created value where the world saw none. And this is the same love he commands us to live by. Loving someone who loves you back? That's easy. But loving those who misunderstand you, hurt you, betray you? That's where divine power shows up. Jesus said, love your neighbor as yourself. Not when they deserve it. When you love without conditions, walls fall. People see God without you preaching a single sermon. This isn't fake positivity. It's choosing grace over grudges, mercy over revenge. That's the love that heals. That's the love that transforms. So tomorrow, love like Jesus did. Love when it's hard. Love when it costs you. Because that kind of love, it changes everything. Forgiveness is the hardest command Jesus gave. It's also the one that sets you free the most. When Peter asked how many times he should forgive someone, Jesus said 70 times 7. Not because he wanted us counting, but because forgiveness was meant to become our default setting. Here's the mind-blowing part. Jesus forgave before anyone asked. He went to the cross for people who mocked him, denied him, and betrayed him. That's how deep his mercy runs. Holding onto resentment chains you to the past. But when you forgive, you unlock the door to healing. Forgiveness doesn't mean what they did was okay. It means you're trusting God to handle the justice while you reclaim your peace. Every time you say, I forgive, you echo the voice of Jesus on the cross. Father, forgive them. That's not weakness. That's supernatural strength. Let it go. Forgive the ones who never apologized. Forgive yourself for what you can't change. Because you are most like Jesus when you set people free. The world screams at you to chase success, security, and status. But Jesus said, seek first the kingdom of God, and everything else will be added to you. He wasn't telling you to ignore your responsibilities. He was teaching you where to anchor your heart. The kingdom isn't a faraway place. It's God's rule in your life right now. It's peace instead of panic, faith instead of fear, clarity instead of confusion. When you start your day seeking him, not your phone, not your problems, everything begins to align. Jesus lived with divine focus. He didn't waste time proving his worth. He stayed connected to the Father, and everything he needed came at the right time. Put God first in your decisions, first in your dreams, first in your fears. When you chase him, his blessings chase you. The world says build your empire. Jesus says build your altar. And when your heart is locked on his kingdom, everything you truly need will find you. When Jesus knelt down and washed his disciples' feet, he shattered the world's definition of greatness. The King of Heaven took the posture of a servant. The one who created galaxies picked up a towel. That moment taught us everything. True power isn't in being served. It's in serving others with love. In a culture obsessed with climbing higher, Jesus showed us that greatness begins when you go lower. Every time you help someone without expecting anything back, you reflect his heart. Serving doesn't always look dramatic. Sometimes it's a listening ear, a kind word, a quiet sacrifice nobody sees, but God sees. And heaven records every moment you choose love over ego. Jesus said, "The greatest among you will be your servant." He didn't say it as poetry. He lived it. So serve even when it's inconvenient. Serve the ones who won't thank you. Because when you serve people, you're serving God Himself. And one day, you'll hear the words every servant longs for. Well done, good and faithful servant. Faith doesn't always make sense. Sometimes it means stepping out of the boat while the storm still rages. When Peter walked on water, his eyes were fixed on Jesus. For that moment, the impossible became possible. But when he looked at the waves, he sank. What you focus on determines whether you sink or stand. Jesus calls you to trust Him beyond your comfort zone, to believe when logic says give up, to keep walking even when the path is invisible. Faith isn't blind. It sees through heaven's lens. It knows that God's silence is an absence. His delays aren't denials. When you walk by faith, you trade control for peace. You stop needing all the answers and start trusting the one who has them. Life will test your faith, but that's where it grows strongest. Faith isn't built in ease. It's forged in fire. So keep walking. Keep believing. The God who guided Abraham, Moses, and Paul is guiding you too. The path may be unseen, but His promise never fails. This is the teaching that stops us in our tracks. Jesus said, "Love your enemies and pray for those who hurt you." Loving people who love you? Natural. Loving those who betrayed you? Supernatural. This is the love that made Jesus pray for His killers while hanging on a cross. To love your enemies doesn't mean pretending they didn't hurt you. It means refusing to let hate poison your soul. When you pray for those who wronged you, something miraculous happens. The weight lifts. The wound begins healing. You may never reconcile with them, but you'll find peace within yourself. Jesus said, "Bless those who curse you." It's hard, but it's the only thing that truly transforms hearts. So love your enemies, not because they deserve it, but because Jesus loved you when you didn't deserve it either. Every prayer for someone who hurt you echoes the gospel itself. That's how the world knows you belong to Him. Anxiety lies to you about a future that hasn't happened yet. But Jesus says, don't worry about tomorrow. Tomorrow will worry about itself. Those aren't naive words. They're revolutionary. They invite you to live one sacred moment at a time. Worry steals today's peace by making you obsess over problems that may never come. But when you surrender tomorrow to God, you find strength for today. Jesus wasn't denying that life is hard. He was teaching that God's faithfulness is bigger than life's uncertainty. If He feeds the birds and clothes the flowers, won't He take care of you? You're worth infinitely more. Anxiety loses its grip when faith takes its place. When your eyes shift from what if to God will, peace blooms where fear once lived. Handle today's battles with faith. Let God handle tomorrow's. So breathe. Trust His timing. Trust His provision. Trust His presence. Jesus never promised no storms, but He promised a worry-free heart anchored in His care. The disciples argued about who was the greatest. Jesus responded with words that flipped everything. The greatest among you will be your servant. In God's kingdom, success isn't measured by titles or applause. It's measured by how much you give, how much you serve, how much you love. The world says climb higher. Jesus says go lower. He washed feet when He could have worn a crown. He chose the cross when He could have chosen comfort. That's true greatness. Serving doesn't diminish you. It makes you more like Him. Every act of kindness, every quiet sacrifice, every moment you put someone else first becomes a reflection of heaven. So when pride tempts you to prove yourself, remember, Jesus proved Himself through humility. The way up is down. The ones who serve and love are the ones who rise highest in heaven's eyes. Jesus looked at broken, ordinary people and said, "You are the light of the world." Not try to be. You are. You were never meant to blend into darkness. You were meant to stand out, to reflect His love wherever you go. Being light isn't about perfection. It's about presence. It's choosing kindness over cruelty, faith over fear, truth over lies. Your light might seem small, but in darkness, even the smallest flame is impossible to ignore. When you forgive, when you encourage, when you stand for truth, you light someone's path who's been stumbling in despair. The world doesn't need more noise. It needs more light, and that light lives in you. So let it shine, not to be seen, but to lead others to the one who saves. When your life glows with his presence, you remind the world that hope is alive. Jesus said, "Ask, and it will be given. Seek, and you will find. Knock, and the door will be opened." Those words weren't empty promises. They're invitations into deeper relationship. Prayer isn't a ritual. It's communion with God. And every time you ask, seek, or knock, you're stepping closer to his heart. But Jesus didn't say when the door would open. That's where faith grows. Sometimes God's "not yet" is preparing you for something greater than right now. His silence isn't rejection. It's construction. Behind the scenes, he's aligning things you can't see, protecting you from paths not meant for you. To seek means to chase God, not just his gifts. To knock is to persist. To keep believing even when the door feels locked. Because sooner or later, it will open. And what's behind it will make sense of every tear you cried waiting. So don't stop asking. Don't stop seeking. Don't stop knocking. The door will open at the right time, in the right way, by the right hand. Jesus hated hypocrisy. He called out the Pharisees not because they followed rules, but because they performed faith instead of living it. God doesn't want your performance. He wants your honesty. He can work with brokenness. He can't bless pretending. To live authentically means to drop the mask, to admit your struggles, to repent when you fail, to live your faith when nobody's watching. People may admire your success, but they'll be transformed by your sincerity. The world doesn't need perfect Christians. It needs real ones. People who say, "I'm not there yet, but Jesus is still working on me." Jesus said, "Let your yes be yes and your no be no." Be the same person in private that you are in public. When you do, your life becomes a witness more powerful than any sermon. Live quietly, humbly, truthfully. Let others see Christ in you, not because you're flawless, but because you're faithful. The world measures your worth by what you own. Jesus measures it by who you love. He said, "What good is it to gain the whole world, yet lose your soul?" Possessions fade. Titles change. Wealth disappears. But the love you give, the kindness you show, the impact you make on people, those echo into eternity. Jesus valued the poor, the forgotten, the broken. He showed us that every soul is more precious than any earthly treasure. When you value people over possessions, your priorities shift. You stop chasing what rusts and start investing in what lasts. Generosity becomes joy. Compassion becomes currency. Jesus owned nothing yet lacked nothing. Because love filled every space possessions could never reach. Hold things loosely. Hold people close. When your hands are open to give, they're also open to receive. And what God gives in return, peace, joy, purpose, is worth more than anything money could buy. Jesus said, "If anyone wants to follow me, let him deny himself, take up his cross daily, and follow me." Those words aren't poetic. They're costly. They mean surrendering your will for God's. Letting go of your plan so His can unfold. The cross isn't just a symbol. It's an invitation to live differently, to choose obedience even when it hurts. Denying yourself doesn't mean rejecting who you are. It means rejecting the selfish part that wants to live apart from God's purpose. Carrying your cross is personal. For some, it's enduring hardship with grace. For others, it's forgiving repeatedly. It's trusting God when everything says quit. Jesus carried his cross first, not to burden you, but to show you how. He walked that painful road so yours could end in victory. Following him means dying to pride, greed, and fear, and finding resurrection in love, humility, and hope. Don't run from your cross. Lift it and walk forward. The weight you carry with Christ today will become your crown in eternity. Jesus said, "Do not judge, or you too will be judged." He wasn't saying ignore sin. He was saying respond with mercy, not condemnation. Judgment builds walls. Mercy builds bridges. When you look at others through compassion, you see them as God does. Broken, loved, redeemable. It's easy to point fingers when you don't know someone's pain. But we've all fallen short. We've all needed grace. The measure of mercy you give is the measure you'll receive. Jesus didn't shame the woman caught in adultery. He set her free with truth and tenderness. He didn't condemn Peter for his denial. He restored him with love. That's mercy in action. Showing mercy doesn't mean ignoring truth. It means wrapping truth in love. So before you speak, pause. Before you criticize, pray. Choose mercy, because one day you'll need it too. Of all his teachings, this one is the most intimate. Jesus said, "I am the vine. You are the branches. If you remain in me, you will bear much fruit. This is the essence of the Christian life. Connection. Everything good flows from staying close to him. Peace, patience, love, purpose. Abiding isn't about occasional visits. It's daily communion, praying through noise, trusting through silence, loving through pain. When you abide, you don't have to strive. You simply receive. Branches don't bear fruit alone. They depend on the vine. When you drift from God, your soul withers. But when you stay rooted in His Word, your life blossoms. Abiding means choosing Him again and again. When you're tired, when you're tempted, when you don't understand. It's a daily yes to His will. And as you remain, fruit appears naturally. Joy replaces sorrow. Kindness replaces bitterness. Strength replaces fear. Stay connected to the source. Because when you abide in Jesus, your life won't just be successful. It will be fruitful, eternal, and radiant with His glory. Every word Jesus spoke still carries the power to change hearts, heal wounds, and guide you through every season of life. His lessons aren't distant. They're alive within you, waiting to be lived out. Following Jesus doesn't mean living perfectly. It means walking faithfully, waking up each day and saying, "Lord, teach me to love, forgive, trust, and serve like you." And when you stumble, His grace picks you up again. These teachings are more than wisdom. They're a way of life. They turn pain into purpose, fear into faith, ordinary days into sacred opportunities. So let His words guide your steps, light your path, shape your heart. Because when you live by the lessons of Jesus, you don't just find direction, you find life itself. If these teachings touched your heart, don't keep them to yourself. Share this video with someone who needs to hear it. Subscribe for more life-changing content. And remember, Jesus is calling you to walk with Him, not just learn about Him. See you in the next video. God bless you.